Hey, welcome to Fieros Reborn. I am Fieros and I am reborn. Let's crack on. Beaver, badger, ferret, and weasel. Now that is a page. Now that. Come on, page. Look at those words. Yes. This is how life should be. Reading about beaver, badger, ferret, and weasel on the hedgehog and mole page of idioms, which has got a picture of two cats headbutting each other or about to headbutt each other anyway. Copycat. Right, so this is Fieros' story time. Fieros Reborn's story time, as distinct from Fieros Wilson, who was a different person, who looked very similar to me, or not as fat. Now that I'm reborn, you see, I have to get pregnant with fatness, which has come about because I quit smoking and I just laid around in bed for about 3 months. After I quit smoking, and I've only just really started doing exercise again. So now I didn't only just lay in bed, sometimes I sat around in bed. So let's move it on. Last time on Fieros' story time, we got as far as me actually getting to America. Today, do I have to move positions? It's so much effort. I'll just stay like this. Today I finished my whole psych ward trilogy thing, and it's a trilogy in 4 parts, as all the best trilogies are. Yeah, I finished it. Done. Finished writing it all. So now all I have to do is type it up and proofread it and format it and upload it and do the cover for it and all the copyright bullshit and print it out and proofread the printed version and then recheck the mistakes and then re-upload it and then go yes and yeah, there, woo, yeah. So long, but I've done it and I felt so good for about an hour. And then I was feeling great. I was just smiling to myself by the canal, just sitting there like, yeah, I can finally read a different book. Like, I can finally read a novel. I've not read a novel in years. I've only read my own stuff. Because I just couldn't handle other people's. My imagination was too excitable for a while. That I would just read like a paragraph and then I'd just go off into a daydream and just would never get anywhere with reading a book. And I'd have to write a little essay about the paragraph that I'd written and exploring all the imaginative options and the logical outcomes of all the different potential implications within. It was just, yeah, it's just stupid. So let's have a look. Yes, so I finished the Psych Ward series. I cried a bit as well when it was at the end. I was like, oh god, this is an amazing ending. I really enjoyed the ending. I feel like it's quite a meaningful ending. It kind of ties everything together nicely, and it leaves a kind of open sense of openness for new horizons. Not for sequels, but like for just the feeling is a feeling of yes, completion. Completion and moving on, and newness and new horizons and openness and moving upwards and things like this. So yeah, it was good. It's really good. I cried and I went for a wee and cried while I was going for a wee. So I had piss coming out down here and tears dripping onto the piss into the water of the toilet. It was just water everywhere, piss and tears. My blood, piss and tears. No blood. Actually, I did go for a poo. That was another time. And it wasn't bloody poo, but it was red because I've been drinking a lot of that red blood juice, not actual blood, red V8 vegetable juice, as you well know from the last video. Okay, yeah. So I was really pleased that it was done, and I was so pleased. That's why I was crying. I was so pleased. You know, it was just like those tears of meaning, the tears of joy, the tears of appreciation for what I'd done for myself, you know, a little self project to complete a significant chunk of my life history in a creative way, a way that I felt was not just self indulgent, but was a kind of creative offering to the world. So it wasn't just me whining about all the shit that had gone wrong in my life. It was kind of like, let's take some lessons and let's give this as a meaningful story, a journey for other people to also gain something from. So yeah, I'm very pleased, and I cried a bit, as I say, and then I cried a bit more later on because I was like, oh god, yeah, I've fucking done it. It took me 3 years, and I've done it. And now there's a little bit of, so I sat by the canal and I was just remembering the ending of it and crying about that, and then smiling, just this big, weird, happy smile that made it feel like one eye is bigger than the other. That's like it. That's how it felt, but it felt nice as well. Yeah, and I'm sure that a couple of people who walked by probably had a quick little thought, why is he so happy? Why is he sitting there looking at the canal going, I was really happy. And it was the first time I'd fucking smiled, I think, properly smiled. You know, I'll smile a little bit when I laugh and that, and I'm just sort of, I got a bit of a smile on me, but you know, that more of an intense smile, like. Unfortunately, though, my body is still a little bit fucked from the smoking, so it wasn't as full a smile as it could have been because my body still feels kind of painful overall. It's got peace and pain in conflict at the moment. I've got a peaceful feeling and I've got a painful feeling as well. So yeah, that was a shame, but it was it was a happy feeling, the happiest feeling I've had for a long time. And I'm like, yeah, I have actually done it now though, because I completed it before. And I thought I'd completed it, and then I carried on writing loads. And I was like, nah, do you know what? Because I've already completed it before, and then destroyed it all. I'm like, no, it is done now. It's finished. I'm not going to do anymore. I don't need to do anymore. I actually don't feel the urge to. I don't feel the need to. I feel satisfied with it. I'm like, yeah. Ah. And I'm kind of a bit in disbelief that I've actually finished this really long-term project that started about 3 years ago. That I have spent a significant chunk of my waking life over those 3 years working on it. I've taken breaks. You know, I took like 6 months. Oh, well, what was it, 6 months or something? Yeah, probably around 6 months of a break where I didn't do any work on it at all because I was in grief from. And even during that time, actually, I tried bits and bobs to try and restart it, but it wasn't happening. But I was in grief from a relationship that went wrong. And I was just like, I can't do anything. I can't do anything on that project at this time. Yeah, so 3 years in the making, and it is done, and it's finished, and I just need to edit it a little bit, tweak a few things that need changing when I type it up, and make sure the spelling is all good. Yeah, and it's the story of what I'm telling you about in here, but actually I'm probably telling you more of the story in here in these Fieros story times than I have in the books, because the books are in these stories here. I'm not really going into the emotionality of it. I'm just telling you the more factual type of stuff, and I'm for some reason I don't find that I'm able to get to a kind of deeper level in these videos, but I'm telling the actual nuts and bolts of the story as to what happened and why and where. And how and with who and stuff like this. But in the book, it's more, I'm taking you on the emotional, metaphorical, spiritual, psychological journey of it in a deeper way. I feel it's deeper anyway, than I could do just by talking through it. In the books, I'm really kind of getting to try and convey what the experience was like emotionally and spiritually, you know, rather than just telling a story. I find it like it's kind of boring to tell the story in the book for some reason. It just feels like, do I have to? But here, I'd like to carry on telling the story of, well, it's my spiritual adventure which led me to be incarcerated in a psychiatric ward. Why am I putting my thumbs up? Yay! Yeah. Hollow laughter. Yeah, but it's the story of me ending up in a psychiatric ward when I was 20 or 21. We'll find out. So let's just do a little bit of this for the fun of it to get me in the mood very, very quickly. Beaver, badger, ferret and weasel To beaver away, work hard at a task. Very good. I have been beavering away at his job for the last 3 months. Last 3 years, mate. Last 3 years I've been at it. The beaver is renowned for it. Oh, the beaver is renowned for its energy and perseverance. I'm a beaver. I have been a beaver. Also, as we know, the word beaver means pussy, or minge, or labia lips, or vagina. Depending on your preference of what you wish to call it. And some people are probably going to hate me for I've just used the word minge. Cunt as well. Fucking cunty minge chops. my lord, what a mouth I have. Come on now. To badger someone. To make persistent demands on someone. Yeah, I don't like being badgered by people. To make persistent demands on someone. Whenever he sees me, he badgers me to join his club. The Badger Club, is it perhaps? The Badger Club? Would you like to join the Badger Club, anyone? Yeah, whenever he sees me, he badgers me to join his club. He won't give me any peace until I do. That's what the fucking psych ward felt a little bit like. I mean, the books. Oh no, the books. The books themselves felt like they're constantly badgering me, like, please finish me. Come and finish my book. Finish the book. I'm like, oh, you won't leave me alone. Like today, this was the final day of work on it. I'd had a break yesterday. I took a day off yesterday because I finished a significant chunk of it previous to that. And I was like, oh, okay, I just want to relax. I just sat around listening to Sonic the Hedgehog music. Literally, for about 3 hours, I suppose. Overall, I just lay in bed and sat about and maybe texted a few people. I don't know, but I was just listening to Sonic the Hedgehog music, which was fun. Really good stuff. And yeah, and then today woke up and I was like, I need to finish this fucking book. And I was arguing with myself, like, no, but why do I always have to do this fucking book? I don't want to do it anymore. I want it to be done. I want it to be finished. I want it to be over with. You know, I've done it for so long. And my mum said yesterday to me, she's like, yeah, you know, you've been working on that book for like years now. I was like, yeah, you're right, actually. I have been working on it for years. Maybe it's time to finish. Maybe the only reason I was continuing to carry on with it was because I felt like I hadn't done enough. But I had done enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe I was suspending bringing it all together and tying it off and finishing it because I just didn't want to let go. That it had been there for so long now that I just didn't want it to finish, and I just didn't want to kind of stop. But it has to stop because I can't do it indefinitely, and it's really annoying. And it was getting to a point where, look, I'm either going to carry on writing this for the rest of my life, every day, writing every tiny detail that has ever happened to me in that period of time, or I'm going to have to stop and just say, I've done enough. That's it. It's finished. That is that project. Maybe I'll write more about it in different ways in different times, and I'll speak about it here, but that is that project. That is done. I did as much as I could. I felt like I put in the work, you know, and whether people like it or not, it's kind of a bollocks. I don't care. I don't care. I've done it. I'm satisfied. Yeah, I fucking did it. So it badgered me today. It just went, come on, finish the book. I was like, I don't want to. And then it was like, finish the fucking book, because otherwise you'll be here at home arguing with yourself until you go and do it. I thought, yeah, you know what? I'm right. I am right. If I listen to myself and I continue arguing with myself, it will be annoying. So let's just go out. Let's just do the fucking book, finish it off, and done. So I did. Because yeah, otherwise I would have been sat at home going, oh, you know, when you can't rest when you know you should be doing something else. So when you're like trying to rest, you're not fully resting because half of you is thinking about what you should be doing. The other half is resting, going, yeah, I love a bit of rest. And then the other half is going like, come on, you bastard, why are you resting? I'm like, oh, because I need to rest. You don't really need to rest, you're just being lazy. So yeah, but now today I'm like, I can actually rest now. I've put that to bed. Like, that's it. That's that done. You know, the bulk of the actual work is done of the writing of the book. Now it's just the of sort of, formalizing everything in terms of typing it up and proofreading it and all that stuff, which is kind of mine. And that's nothing creative really about that, apart from a little bit of editing, maybe switch a few word orderings around to make it make more sense, um, correct punctuation, correct spelling, stuff like this. But yeah, ooh, okay, badgered. So it badgered me to ferret out, to find something out after a very diligent search. Fair enough. Weasel words. Ooh, weasel words. Words which weaken. There's a lot of W's in there. Weasel words. Words which weaken the force of the words that immediately precede them. They suck the life out of the words just as a weasel sucks the egg out of its shell. Yeah. Okay. That's exciting. That's a deep metaphor. Okay. Wow. I need to rest with that for a moment. Weasel words. This is deep, man. Weasel words. The words which weaken the force of the words that immediately preceded them. They suck the life out of the words, just as a weasel sucks the egg out of its shell. That's amazing. Yeah. I actually genuinely find that amazing. Weasel. I love the word weasel. I love the word egg. This whole thing is everything I'm about. Sucks the egg out of its shell, like a weasel. Let's have the example. We must expand our exports at the same time Let's start again. We must expand our exports and at the same time protect our home industries. The first half of the sentence is contracted or contradicted by the weasel words in the second half. Let's start again. We must expand our exports and at the same time protect our home industries. The first half of the sentence is contradicted by the weasel words in the second half. I don't think it does, actually. What's the problem with it? If we stop countries exporting to us, they will not have enough foreign exchange to import our goods. I think they could have chosen a better weasel word example. Let's think of a weasel word example. No, let's not. Maybe that's weasel words. Opossum. To play possum. To avoid trouble by lying low. Feigning illness or pretending to be unaware of the facts. The allusion is to the habit of the opossum, which feigns death. Oh, when it is attacked. That's risky though, isn't it? Because if you feign death and you're just like, then in a way, they'll just come and eat you because you're already dead. Why would you do that if you're being? It obviously works for some of those opossums. Because if you're playing dead, and I'm a lion, I'm going to eat you anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like, thanks very much for dying before I even had to do anything. Or maybe they don't like dead things. There's a hedgehog out there, by the way, and he was roadkilled. He's been there for the past 5 days. First he was squished. There's blood and guts everywhere. This is disgusting. And I was like, oh. And then he's just gradually getting flatter, poor little thing. And I thought, Sonic the Hedgehog really doesn't look like an actual hedgehog. Oh. And then I thought today, as I looked at it, I was like, those spikes really don't go much against tyres, do they? You would have thought they were sort of, but no, just squished. Poor little bugger. And speaking of hedgehogs, a fox was out and about. Not quite the same thing as a hedgehog. A fox was out and about, and I walked with it. It was like my little pet, sort of. It was over there. It was like about 10 meters away, and I sort of kept step with it. I was just walking with it, and whenever it paused, I paused, and I was just looking at it. It's an amazing creature, because it seems to have this kind of invisibility cloak about it, where I know it's there, and then it suddenly disappears into the grass. It's like got a stealth mode on it. It's amazing, and it feels very ephemeral. The fox. It was walking around, and it's not like a dog. Like a dog. Well, it is a bit like a dog, but it's not like a dog in as much as a dog feels a bit more solid. But this fox felt like it was just going to slip away into the ether at any moment. It's just going to vanish into nothingness. Whereas dogs are all like, always running about and a bit boisterous and that. And this fox was it's very stealthy, I kind of lost sight of it just because it went into a shadow. Now, if a dog went into a shadow, you'd be like, there's blatantly a dog there. Even if it's like the same colour as the shadow, you still be like, definitely a dog there, because it's probably going wagging its tail around or whatever. But yeah, so I was just following the fox about, and then the fox does the same thing as a dog, though, pisses up against lampposts. I was like, even the fox knows about that. Why the lamppost, though? You know, it didn't do the tree, did the lampposts. Why always the lampposts? You know, why not, I suppose. At least it didn't pee on me. Right, let's focus. Yeah, and then 2 dogs came along. Real dogs, not fox type dog things. 2 real dogs came along, little yappy dogs. And I knew, well, I was wondering, are they going to bark at the fox or not? Are they going to notice that there's a fox there? Presumably, you know, dogs and foxes and all kinds of animals have super antennae, don't they? They can sense anything everywhere. They probably smelled it or whatever, or heard it, or I said smell already. They probably listened to it. Well, they just have this psychic knowing, don't they, dogs? You know, they know when someone's a bad person. They know when a fox is around. They probably, like, know whether the fox is a good fox or a bad fox as well. So these 2 dogs came along, being walked by someone who's, like, lived around in this area for ages and ages and ages since I was a kid. And so this guy's walking his 2 dogs along. I was like, are they going to bark or not? Are they going to bark? Are they going to bark or not? And then I was like, yeah. Well, you can't keep them down, can you, dogs? So the little yappy dogs. And the thing about the fox was, right, he just carried on and just like, whatever. Other dogs would have been like, you know, and everyone would be barking. It would be mayhem. But this fox was just like, whatever, and just carried on. I thought, that's the kind of animal I am or want to be, which is the one that just, everyone's yapping about, making a fuss out of everything. Just carry on, looking for grub or whatever it is, kicking over dustbins, going, give me a fucking, you know, where's a bit of cheese, bit of burger, I'll have that. Yeah, jumping over fences, and then rustling around. Was it a hedgehog? Oh, fuck off, your hedgehog, you spiky shit. Well, give me a bit of grub. Where's the grub? He was looking around on the grass. When I first saw him, he was just sat there on the grass. The fox I'm on about. He was just sat, literally, it's just sat on the grass. I was like, what are you doing, meditating? Just sat there. I was like, you're not meant to sit around in the middle of someone's lawn. You're a fox. What are you doing? And then he sort of obviously got baited out and got caught red-handed, caught red-buttocked. And he was like, oh shit, and then he started walking. That's when I first met the fox today. No, it's not when I first met the fox, actually. I went up the bridge over there to just have a sit down. I was thinking just go and sit down by the canal, but I thought, no, it's a bit dark and scary and there could be evil people down there. Like me. Yeah, if I'm an evil person out walking about, there could be other evil people out walking about. You know, you never know. So I went so far and then I turned back. I actually sat down on the curb for a bit and I was like, And then as I was walking back, little fox poked his head out and sort of went and then he went, oh shit, and turned around, and then he walked down this other bit by the bins and popped out another way, and I suppose I think I must have followed him from there, actually, thinking about it. Yeah. Or did I lose track of him and then he showed up later? I can't remember, but I definitely remember him sitting on the grass for a bit without my knowledge, and then I was like, oh, there he is, sat on the fucking grass. Anyway, that's the fox story. So yeah, be a fox and don't mind about the nonsense of dogs barking and yapping and trying to, you know, set you off your course for your grub. Just carry on as though nothing's happening. And the owner's like trying to keep the dogs in check, and they're all going, you know, fucking spazzing about on their leads. And the owner's going, oh god, no, stop it, no, stop being it, stop now, stop barking, no, like this. And then another bloke come walking by, and he's like, and I'm like, yeah. And the fox has just carried on. Fox didn't give a toss. I suppose maybe the foxes know that dogs have leads, and therefore the fox has got the protection of the lead. Fox probably outrun a dog anyway. So let's carry on to play possum. Done that one. Hedgehog and mole. It's all happening here today. Again, I just picked these up. I just literally, when you saw me open that book like that earlier on, that was just not pre-planned. I just opened it. Right. Hedgehog and mole. As prickly as a hedgehog, someone who takes offence very easily. I understand that one. That's easy. A mole. A traitor who undermines from the inside the organisation in which he is employed. A mole. Okay, next one. To make a mountain out of a molehill. To exaggerate a difficulty. Like those dogs were. They were making a mountain out of that fox's molehill. Here we go. We've got an example now. You didn't hear that. Aren't you making a mountain out of a molehill? There's no need to cancel our holiday just because the airlines are grounded. We can go by boat train. What the hell is boat train? We can go by boat train instead. What's a boat train? What's a boat train? Wait, do I know what a boat train is and I'm just like being silly? What's a boat train? It says this. What is a boat train? I think it probably means we go by boat and then train. We can go by boat train instead. But the way, what's boat train? Boat train. A train that is a boat. They haven't put that one on James Bond lately, have they? The boat train. How does that work? Let's think of this. Boat train. Boat train. I think of train boat because it starts off as a train and then it just kind of gets into the track, goes into the water, and then it just goes on the water like that. But a boat train, well, I suppose it would be, but it wouldn't be a boat to begin with, though, would it? So it's, surfing around on the water like that, and then all of a sudden, oh, there's a track. Wow, is that a thing? Let's go by boat train. Let's go by boat train. I haven't been by boat train in ages. I bet if this is a fucking thing, boat train. No, it's not a thing. A train scheduled to connect with the arrival or departure of a boat. Oh, come on. That's not a real boat train. Come on, boat train. I want an actual boat train. Not just a train that is like what did it say? A boat train is a passenger train operating to a port for the specific purpose of making connection with a passenger ship such as a ferry or ocean liner. Through ticketing is normally available. Yeah, but it's not actual boat train though, is it? I want a train boat. You get in it and then it just... Yeah, man! So you don't have to get off. You just go straight into the water. Like if you're just running along and then you just go into the water. That's what I want in the boat. The train version of that. And then it just puts little oars out. I don't know. Okay, so obviously I'm not getting very far with Fieros' story time today. I'm just messing about. But let's have a little look. So, how did I get to America? On boat train. No, I actually got there on aeroplane, which I'd saved up money. As I said in the last video, I'd saved up money. No, I hadn't saved up money. I had money somehow. I sold my car to my mum for £800, as I said. I don't know where the hell the fucking money came from, because I have this feeling of like £1,500, and I don't know whether that was 1,600 or 1,800. I don't know where I got the money from. Maybe I swear. Well, I had enough to get there, and I had enough for spending, and I had enough for my hostel stay for 3 months. Was it 3 months? Maybe I hadn't actually planned for the whole 3 months. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about what I was thinking of doing before I actually ended up going there. So before I ended up going to America, I was planning to go there. I wanted to be homeless. As I'd said in the previous video, I felt like I had been overprivileged for the whole of my life. I felt like I'd had everything handed to me on a plate. I'd never experienced real living, real suffering, real hardship. I'd always had everything given to me. Everything was easy. I'd never had a problem in terms of anything going wrong, really, in my life. And I felt like I was missing out on the truth of life. Yeah, the truth of life is something I was thinking of, that I'm somehow protected from the realities of life that other people who haven't been as fortunate as I have been have to experience. Now, I'm guessing that some people would just kind of go off to Africa and do some, whatever you call it, charity kind of build a school type work or whatever. But even that feels somewhat cushy. Everything's kind of planned out for you, and everything is like you are still protected. You are not going to just become a third world person, if that makes sense. You go in there as a first world person, you do your stuff, and you've paid however much for it, 3 grand or whatever, and then you go back home. And you don't ever really have to there's a fallback plan to that. There's a sort of safety net to it, and I really wanted to go out without a feeling of safety net, so that I could get in touch with what I was calling the truth of life, and the truth of suffering and the reality of life. I've never actually said that. That was my reasoning. I tried to do it at uni, where I'd planned to go and sleep rough for a bit because I'd met a lot of homeless people, and I was talking to a lot of homeless people in general, and being scammed by a lot of homeless people. Honestly, that's the truth. Very naive was I. I was very naive. And I would give £10, £20, £30, £40 to different homeless people just because I felt like I was helping them. And on the basis that the story that they told me was true. So various different stories, like I need to get the bus home, I need to get money for a shelter or whatever you call it, hostel. And then I found out through various sources that the various different people that I've been giving money to, like, because all the homeless people in Reading where I was knew all the other different homeless people. It's kind of like a community, the kind of street community, and they've all got they like each other and they don't like each other. There's different pairings and territories, things like that, and they support each other, but then they're also competing with each other as well, because they're obviously competing for kind of business in terms of their begging. So they liked each other and then also didn't like each other at the same time. So it's always a bit of friction going on between them. Anyway, one homeless bloke informed me that a particular guy who I was giving a lot of money to was a junkie. Now, this guy had always told me that he didn't do drink and didn't do drugs and anything like this, and I believed it because I was young and stupid and I didn't know any better. Whereas now I see a junkie a fucking mile off. I think that calling someone a junkie is apparently offensive. Fucking don't give a shit, mate. If you're on the street begging for money and your eyes are like this, then I know you're a fucking junkie. I know you're just trying to score. Now, fine, but don't fucking bullshit me about it, all right? Yeah, I've been bullshitted enough times about that shit, so I don't take it anymore. I sometimes even will say to someone, if they've asked me for 50p to make a phone call, or 50p or a pound, or £1, £1.50 to get a bus back to Maidenhead, or I need £5 and my petrol's run out of my car. I'm like, where are you trying to get to in that car? Your dealer? Or I'll just say like, yeah, look, just fucking tell me you want it for the fucking drugs, or tell me you want it for a beer, and I'll fucking give you it. But don't fucking lie. It just pisses me off. I hate people lying to me, and I hate the fact that they have to lie, actually, because the reason that they feel they have to lie is because no one will give them the money if they actually tell the truth, which is a shame, because it keeps people in that state, doesn't it? Because they can never own up to the full nature of their situation if they constantly have to lie, and if the whole world is based upon spinning lies and stories and stuff like this. So you can never kind of really, you end up lying to yourself at a certain point. Anyway, for whatever reason, I decided that I wanted to be homeless for a bit, or at least sleep on the streets when I was at university in Reading. All my friends were like, no, don't do it, because you might die, or it's very dangerous and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, Okay, fine then. Why do I listen to people instead of doing what I actually want to do? It probably was a good idea not to, but whatever. I'm sure I would have survived. Maybe I wouldn't. Probably wouldn't have at that age because I was stupid. I was getting scammed by everyone. Anyway, okay, so then that plan came back later on, and it was inspired by Eckhart Tolle in his book. Oh, what was it? Power of Now or A New Earth? One of the two, where he said that he felt an impulse to go to the west coast of America, I think it was, or east coast. West coast sounds like west coast to me. West coast of North America to write his book, and he was called. He felt that was a kind of calling, an impulse of the universe to go and do that. And basically, I was just copying that impulse. I was like, yeah, maybe, yeah, because I'm basically like him now, because I've read his book and that, so I am him in a way. I'm also enlightened, or at least on my way to enlightenment. So I think I need to do that as well. New York, because just of the signs of the universe, as I mentioned before, about the underpants. The signs of the underpants, and Ben, not Ben, why do I always call him Ben? His name was Dan. And Dan, a little grizzly gnome person with his beers and the Simpsons, and told me about this trip he'd been on to New York to do some photography. I also think someone else I knew who was a fellow busker also had been to New York and spoke highly of it. So he was sort of saying, yeah, do it, man, go for it. So I was like, okay, cool. So, but there's another part here, which is a friend of mine from university. I was still in contact with her. We almost had sex after I broke up with Mr. B. We had a little moment there. Yeah, not going to say very much about her because it's just kind of sensitive issue, and I'd rather not go there on video, just in case she watches it eventually. I doubt she will, but I don't really want to talk about it. But yeah, we almost had sex. We got very close. We got nude, and then she kind of freaked out. Self-esteem issues, basically, and she was like, she felt ugly and all this stuff, and she didn't want to go through with it, so we didn't, and it was weird. It was weird that we even got that far. To be honest, I didn't even know that she fancied me. I kind of fancied her. She was very pretty, but yeah, it just didn't end up happening. So that was strange because she'd been a friend of both of me and Mr. B, and he had told her that he wanted. Oh God, the fucking marriage thing as well. Yeah. So he was pestering me. This is another reason, like one of the reasons why that relationship was so bollocks. I mean, he must have been like 18 or 19 by the time that I ended up breaking up with him. And I think he was 19. I feel like he'd been through his 19th birthday shortly before I broke up with him. He had been pestering me to marry him or get a civil partnership. It was civil partnership at that time, and that had just come in recently, actually. At that time, and he was pestering me, and I hate it when people do this. I've had this after that as well. People they get very obsessed with marriage, and they do it far too young as well. Like, so he's like 19, and he wants to marry me, and I'm like his first big boyfriend, major boyfriend, whatever. And then I've had this with a girlfriend like later on, when, to be fair, again younger than me. She was 17 when I was 23 at that time. Or was it 22 or 23? 23, probably, yeah, 23. Yeah, and then she got obsessed about the whole marriage thing as well, which is weird. And then just keep pestering you about it, and you're like, I don't want to marry you, no. Anyway, so Mr. B was pestering me for marriage, and then I even went out and bought this stupid fucking ring in a little ring box. Yeah, ring box is the right word. Ring box with a ring in it. Stupid little fucking ring. And I even asked his mum oh, Mr. B wants me to marry him, and I was thinking of asking your permission. Oh, what am I doing? And I may well have asked Mr. B's dad as well, Mr. B Senior, and they were both like, "You're very young, you know." And in a way, I was kind of glad they said that because I didn't really know why I was doing it anyway. I didn't want to do it. I just pressured, so gave in to so much of pressure from that guy, you know. And then anyway, so this friend of ours, mutual friend, mainly my friend because I knew her from uni, but we'd met up. Mr. B and I had met up with her in, I don't know, some scenarios, and I believe those two had met up with each other as well as friends, separately. Yeah. So I found out from her, either after I'd broken up with him or just around that time, that he had wanted me to marry him because that way he will know where I am at all times. Because the reason of that was I really wasn't sure whether I was gay at that time at all. I was fancying women big time while I was in the relationship with him. And I wanted out, and I kept trying to get out, and he kept trying to pull me back, and I did end up going back because I don't know why. Just very persuasive person was he. Um, Manipulative, guilt trip, persuasion. You know, lies basically as well. Saying he was going to change, never did change. It's all the same. And at the same time, I was like, I'm supposed to be gay, but I find all these women really attractive. And I was having a real internal conflict with that. Really, really messed me about, that did. Because it was a conflict of identity. Like, I've said to everyone I'm gay, and I'm in a gay relationship. And then my sexual drives and my natural thought process and my natural attraction feelings were all interested in women. And I couldn't match it up, and I was like, why? What? Fuck! My head was just, clash of men and women thing going on in there. And as I said in a very early video, I finally realised eventually I don't want to be with a guy, and I want him to be a woman, and I treat him like a woman. I visualize him as a woman. I would rather he be a woman. I'd rather be with a woman. I prefer the feeling of being with a woman. I prefer the smell of a woman. I prefer the emotional warmth feeling of being with a woman. I prefer the skin of a woman. You know, the feeling of cuddliness with a woman. I prefer the pheromones, hormones of a woman. I prefer the feeling of being inside a vagina to an anus. I don't like sex with the guy. I didn't want to be having sex with the guy. I was only doing it because he really wanted me to, and I was doing it. I always felt like I was giving in to him. I'd still enjoy it, I guess, kind of, but I didn't want it, if that makes sense. You know, I think it's a bit like the case of, all right, something's not dreadful, but it's not desirable either. Yeah, that's probably a good way to say it. Yeah. So she had told me, as I was saying, that the only reason he wanted to marry me was he was like, if he has a ring on his finger, then I will know where he is at all times and he won't stray, and I can keep tabs on him and keep control of him and know he won't be going away and things like this. And I was just like, either, I can't remember exactly, but I was like, thank God I'm not with him anymore, or I'm definitely getting out of this right now. Because that was just another signal of the whole possessive thing, and more of a reason to want to be away from him. So I did, got away from him. Yeah. And her and I nearly had sex, which was weird. Lovely boobs, lovely face, very pretty, lovely lips. Um, and it just didn't happen. I don't want to go into it. Let's just skip past that now. But I kept in contact with her, and yeah, and what? Okay, and so I kept in contact with her when I came back to live in Reading, that on that second time when I'd finished being at university and I was just living in Reading, doing the floating around kind of thing, being and hanging out with people, um, and playing the drums and all that stuff. I was still in contact with this friend, and I told her of my plan to go to America because she was American actually, and I told her what I wanted to do, which was to go there and be homeless. And she had a right go at me, and she told me no. She's like, "No, you don't do it, and if you do it, I'm gonna, I don't know, what." She threatened me with something like calling my parents or, oh, I don't know, get the police involved or something. She threatened me somehow, or like she wouldn't speak to me or something if I did do that. And eventually I acquiesced and I went, okay, fine, I'll get fucking hostel, Jesus. So I booked out hostels. I also tried to get into a Buddhist monastery over there, which was weird. And I can't remember whether I did it by email or by phone or both. But they were like, yeah, you know what? You need to have done X, Y, and Z beforehand, and you need to be at a certain point in your life to be able to do it. And I was like, why? Why does nothing happen the way I want it to? Why are there so many obstacles to this bollocks? Anyway, I did book a hostel. Okay. Now, here's a strange little thing. So I was staying in Reading, and I was also still in contact with Mrs. A. Mm? And while I was staying in Reading, at that little room where I was looking at the clock and watching it go tick, 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 little red numbers flicking over one by one as the time drifted away. Didn't have a TV in there. I listened to a lot of music actually. Oh god, yeah, I bought a load of CDs with me and probably bought some more. Brought them there with me and also bought some more. I bought Morrissey album, I Am the Quarry. I remember that. Particularly, I think that was a new one at that time that wasn't already part of my collection. So that was a kind of specific to that time period in my life. Listened to that, read through all the lyrics, and I was like, okay, oh yeah, I forgot about that until now. And I was doing this thing where I wanted to listen through all my CDs and then junk the ones I didn't want anymore. So I was like really trying to weasel my belongings down at that time. I think because I probably genuinely thought I was going to try and immigrate to America and stay there even though I wasn't going to be allowed to. I probably thought that that's what I was going to try and do, try and be homeless. And I was trying to de-junk my possessions because in the book of Eckhart it was talking about attachment to possessions and detaching from possessions, which I hadn't realised until now-ish, let's say 5 years ago. I realised you can still have possessions, you're just not attached to them emotionally as much to the point where they like make you feel bad if you don't have them, or if someone kind of scratches your paintwork, you're not going to try and hunt them down with a gang of knife wielding maniacs to yeah, you're more light, kind of easy, more easy breezy about possessions is what he's trying to teach. It's like, okay, yes, have them, enjoy them, love them, but then you're going to have to let go of them eventually. Certainly when you die, you can't take anything with you, so you may as well kind of start releasing this tight grip on things now. Be less precious about things, because the preciousness that you hold around items is when they get harmed, you feel harmed. Like when someone scratches your car, you feel like they've scratched you, they've harmed you, like they've done something against you. Whereas actually, it's an action that's happened to the car, not to you in yourself. So yeah, but I was taking things a bit more literally than that, and I was just trying to get rid of everything, which is fine. I suppose it is actually quite good to live quite minimalistically for me. This is not my room. Okay, this is the opposite of what I would have. Stuff everywhere. You know, my room, I do have a bit of stuff, but it's a lot less than the rest of my family. I just try and keep things very basic. Like, I have the things that I need, that I want, and I do a like process where after a while I go, look, am I actually watching this? Am I using this? Am I keeping in contact with this thing, or is it just something I got ages ago and I don't actually care about or use anymore? And I chuck stuff away. Plus, I've only got a certain amount of drawer space, so I have to chuck things away at a certain point. What is this room? Oh, oh, you can't see it as much as I can. There's shit in front of here as well. So, all right. So yeah, I was trying to get rid of my stuff. So this is the point I was trying to get to. So I was still in touch with Mrs. A, and we were having a little conversation. Turned out that she was going out with one of our school friends, and she had to call me up to tell me specifically because she felt that it was important for me to know, because I was still important to her, I suppose, and she felt like she had to tell me, which was fine. I didn't really get it. I was like, yeah, why aren't you with me, you bitch? And at that time, okay, so I don't know how exactly, but I must have been busking in Windsor. And how was it that I'd been busking in Windsor when I was living in Reading? Maybe it was just during the crossover time between me living here and living in Reading, because I'd gone busking in Windsor. Which, by the way, if you're not from this area, Windsor's close, quite close to where I live, and Reading is further away, so I wouldn't have travelled from Reading to busk in Windsor. It just wouldn't have really made sense, whereas you can busk in Reading quite easily. Yeah, anyway, so yeah, so I must have been living here because, all right, so now things coming up that I need to put into place in order to make the story correct. I'd had this weird interaction with a gay guy in a wheelchair who was a lot older than me. He was 48 at the time. Let's not give him a name. Let's call him Wheelchair Dude. And that was strange. I felt like I was trying to be some kind of spiritual healer for him, like a kind of Jesus type of thing, and trying to just offer my presence and listen to him and, you know, be there as a helpful presence in some way. Did I feel sorry for him? Maybe. Did I feel like he was a decent person he was a spiritual person? I felt like he was a spiritual person because I'd met him in a spiritual crystal type shop, and I thought he was quite an upbeat kind of guy, and therefore maybe could help me, I suppose, or I felt a connection to him in some way, or I don't know why I spent time with him. I was just a very strange, vulnerable type, easy person to just latch on to people, I suppose, at that time. So I latched onto him, went around to his house a lot. I felt maybe because he was kind in a certain sense, like he was generous. He liked me a lot. He was obviously attracted to me, which I found out in a sexual way, and I was like, damn it. And then I randomly decided to just strip and let him give me a massage, which is one of the weirdest things I've ever done. And I believe it was just because he wanted to. He'd been mentioning massages before, and I just went, yeah, okay, fine, whatever. I literally just got naked, laid on his bed, and let him give me a massage. And he said he was going to be very respectful, and he wasn't going to like touch my willy or anything. And all he did was he went like that on my weenus. And yeah, it's very strange. Haven't told this story in ages. So that was weird, and it happened on. This is why I fucking did it. Actually, I did have a stupid reason for this as well. There was something called Fire the Grid, And it happened ages ago, and it was some kind of spirituality thing that happened years and years ago, like Fire the Grid meditation on July the 17th, 2007, right? Right? This is so fucking stupid. This is the reason I said in my mind why I was going to just suddenly strip naked and let this guy massage me. Fire the Grid. So, what can I say? Well, as I remember, the event called Fire the Grid was supposed to be a kind of worldwide meditation event where everyone was supposed to do something for like an hour or... Oh man, what was it? Let's see if it says anything here. Well, I'm going to make it up. You're supposed to like meditate for an hour or do something loving for an hour or do something helpful for an hour or spread positive vibes in some way for an hour just on that one day. And I decided to have this massage and let this guy massage me, and as the way of firing the grid for my hour thing. So I did, and it was weird. I suppose it was nice, I guess, apart from the willy touching thing, which I wasn't happy about. But he seemed to like the fact that I suppose I had a nice body at that time. I was quite slim, quite toned. So this sounds really creepy. This guy is really creepy because I was like 19, I suppose, 19 or 20. And this old 48-year-old gay wheelchair-bound perv is massaging me with oils. So, this is why I don't tell this story very often, or haven't ever fucking told it for ages and ages and ages. The first time I told that story was in Windsor. Okay, let's get this sorted. So I'd had the wheelchair gay massage thing, right? And I was a bit like, don't know what I'm doing. This is weird. You know, I was like, oh, I'm going on a mystical spiritual adventure and I'll just let this guy massage me. Oh, how strange am I? How amazing am I for allowing this to happen? Aren't I the sort of unique spiritual light being type of person? And, man, this sucks. All right. And then, okay, so I was busking in Windsor. I must have been living at home still. Yeah, I must have been living at home because the wheelchair perv lives nearish to me. I should stop speaking about him now. I went to Windsor to do some busking. A lady came along, dropped her business card in my, whatever you call it, guitar case. Man, this sucks. This story sucks. All right, let's carry on. So she dropped her business card in there. She said, as she did it, she went, I don't normally do this, but drop that in there. And on the back of it had her number, her mobile number, and it said, call me, the little smiley face. Call me. So I did. But what? So then I moved to Reading, because while I was in Reading, I spoke to Mrs. A, right? And I told her, Mrs. A. So Mrs. A told me, that she's going out with her friend, like our friend from school, and she needed to tell me about this, and it was important for me to know, and she felt like she should tell me because of our previous relationship and stuff like this. Blah, whatever. I don't know why she told me. It was annoying. And then I told her that this 35-year-old woman who dropped her business card in my guitar case and says call me on it wants to meet up with me for a coffee date, which is the result of what happened when I called her. So it was nice actually to meet up with this woman, and the phone conversation was very nice. She was a very lovely woman. She's very kind of kind-hearted, very easygoing, soft, gentle, sense of humor, intelligent, witty, sparkly, loving, a lot older than me at that time. I was 21, I guess. I must have been 21 because I remember saying to Mrs. A that I was 21 and she was 35. And Mrs. A said, "Oh, Ross, when a woman's at that age, they're at their peak of sexuality, they're most fertile and all this stuff. So you should just go with it because you probably have the best sex of your life." And I went, huh, okay. I was kind of arguing the point of, oh, I really shouldn't because she's like really old and I don't know about it and I feel weird and stuff. And but Mrs. A goes, yeah, she'll be in the like prime of her sexuality. She probably just really wants to fuck, so do it. And I was like, afterwards, I thought, yeah, okay, why not? So I did, and I ended up actually staying with this lovely Australian woman, 35-year-old, who I will call Mrs. C. Spent 3 weeks living with her before I went to America. So you see how the story is starting to have a bit more of a sense of coherency, sort of. Okay, so yeah, there you go. Fucking wheelchair thing. Oh god, yeah, that's annoying. I wrote a song about it. All right, let's leave it there. Sorry if I bummed you out with all the creepy weirdness, but it's the truth.